Hoover risk. The need for the last word. I often reinforce how the key to understanding who you have been entangled with, and therefore maximising your own prospects of moving on, is to comprehend that we operate from a different perspective from you. That's why so much of what we say and do appears odd to you, irrational and downright perverse, yet completely normal and understandable to us. So, for instance, when you say, it must be exhausting being a narcissist, actually no it isn't. When you say, we're sick and twisted, from your perspective, absolutely. From ours, not at all. We view you as sick and twisted. You don't do what we want. You cause the problems. You are viewed as the manipulative ones. One of those ways in which the perspective affects the dynamic between my kind and your kind is the fact that we always want the final word. That, of course, is an assertion of control over you. Now, of course, it may have occurred to you that since we regard the narcissistic relationship as one that lasts forever, how can there really be a last word? Indeed. But it is in terms of the last word within that particular interaction, because as I've explained, you should imagine that our world is sliced into ribbons of 1 second each, and we must assert control in each and every one of those single seconds. And therefore, by asserting control over you directly, by getting the last word, we have secured control in that second, which can then extend to the ones that follow on thereafter. And therefore, it is very important for us. We are the ones that must be in control, and we must always maintain that state of affairs. Therefore, within our formal relationship between you and I, whether it's a friendship, business relationship, family, romantic relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, partners, we must have the last word in any discussion or argument, because then we assert control over you. We want the last word when issuing our opinion about something. We want the last word when the formal relationship has been brought to a conclusion, when we disengage from you. Indeed, even if you end the formal relationship and escape, we will still maintain in certain instances, to assert control over other people, that we actually ended it, thus giving us the last word. We will skew the situation, albeit unaware narcissists don't see it that way, to ensure that we maintain our control, maintain our sense of power, irrespective of how you see it. This, of course, causes confusion, frustration, and astonishment for you, which provides good fuel for us. The need also for the last word is actually a device which is designed to set us on a collision course with your kind, your truth seekers. You want to have the last word. You want to be able to conclude the argument, reach a resolution, gain closure. You want to be able to say your piece. You, out of your honesty, decency, feel that it's only right that you're heard. You believe that it is a fundamental part of any relationship that you're heard. And because you find yourself so annoyed, upset, and frustrated with the way that we behave, this desire that you have to have the last word, to set us straight, to get us to see the truth of your position, to assert your position because it is the truth, it becomes all the more important to you. And of course, your ever-present emotional thinking goads you and tries to cause you to gain that final word. If the formal relationship has ended, you also want to have the last say. You want to let us know what you really think of us. You want to make some last plea to the normalcy you believe still lurks somewhere inside of us. You want to make us hear you, listen and somehow accept that we are wrong and you are right. This desire of yours to say the last word is considerable, and your emotional thinking corrupts this truth-seeking trait of yours and flies in the face of our own desire, which of course leads to conflict, drama and opposition, all of which results in us looking to assert control over you, and of course it generates fuel, which is what we instinctively or consciously want. You are left infuriated if you can't have your say. You're furious if you have been denied the chance to articulate how you feel, deprived of it, defeated. You're upset that your desire to say what you want to say has been ignored, disregarded and treated in a roughshod manner. You want clarity, finality. You want some kind of closure, and having the last say as we both stare at one another across the smoking ruins of our formal relationship is something which matters to you tremendously. And we instinctively know this. This is why we make it so damn difficult for you to achieve. either by talking over you, shouting you down, walking away, or just disappearing. We deny you finality, we deny you clarity, we deny you the last word. You feel cut off, denied, unfulfilled. And this provides us with both thought fuel and proximate fuel if we stay to witness the reaction. You are preoccupied with thinking about the injustice you have suffered at our hands, your empathic trait of justice being affected, the sheer unfairness of what has happened, your empathic trait of decency being affected, the need for restitution, your empathic trait of the desire to heal and fix being affected. You want us to know what we are. You want us to realise that we are bad, awful, horrible, an abuser. You want us to know how you feel. You want to say your piece, articulate your anger, your pain, your bewilderment. Your emotional thinking relishes this opportunity. If you're thinking about delivering any of the above, in person, through text, on the telephone, or even smoke signal, if you are discussing this need with a friend or therapist, if you are reading the latest piece of provocations we have sent to you, querying why you have behaved so abominably from our perspective, criticising your past weekend behaviour with the children, or demanding that you repay us for some debt, any and all of these matters are a form of engagement and will heighten your emotional thinking, which will then want to go one step further and make you engage with us by either confronting us in person, by ringing us up, or firing off that venomous late-night text volley. It wants you to get the last word with us. Your emotional thinking will corrupt your empathic traits of fairness, honesty, and decency. It will corrupt those narcissistic traits that you have of pride and envy. Most of all, it will hone in on your empathic truth-seeker trait in order to make you endeavour to deliver your truth to us in one last proclamation, a final declaration that, signing off. When that text arrives and finds you because your no-contact regime is poor, it baits you. And how many times have you failed to resist responding to this provocation? You have to set us straight. You can't help yourselves. You have to put us right. You can't leave it be. It bugs you. It irritates you. It gets under your skin. You're full of righteous indignation, bristling with anger, brimming with your truth. You have to have that last word. And thus, you respond and you fall into the trap. You text, you email, you social media message, you call, you appear in person. And then what you do is you provide us with pure fuel, or more often challenge fuel. And therefore, you risk the assertion of control coming back from us, therefore risking a Hoover. You risk an adverse response. You might be abused further, shouted at, called horrible names, even physically assaulted. And you heighten your emotional thinking further because you're involving with us. And therefore you get drawn into a war of words, an array of accusations, and a tussle of the dithering truths. This is of no use to you. But you are blinded by your emotional thinking. And you keep on going, not realising that all you're doing is giving us fuel, suffering an adverse consequence, and increasing your emotional thinking. Blinded by your emotional thinking, you think, why can't he see it? Why can't he understand it? I've got to be the one that speaks the last. The need to have the last word also leads to you being susceptible to being hoovered, because you feel that there are loose ends which need tying up. We instinctively recognise this and rely on it to keep you hooked and providing fuel to us without ever allowing you to tie up those loose ends correctly. It's all part of the way that we continue to manipulate you, either instinctively or consciously. No doubt you found yourself in such a situation. You may now have moved on and know that the last thing you ought to do is engage with us in any way, no matter how tempting it might be. You have learned it will only result in fuel, if handled incorrectly, and at worst, you might even succumb to our charm once again and be sucked back into the former relationship by creating this Hoover risk. Yet the desire to write or say those things that you wish you had been able to say all that time ago, or even more recently, remains strong and powerful, driven by the emotional thinking. Of course, what you might say now would perhaps differ from what you might have said back then, when you did not know better than what you know now. You didn't know what you were entangled with, nor how you had been manipulated, and thus your words would take on a different approach and different form compared to if you said them now, armed with knowledge and understanding. However, whichever way you look at it, attempting to have the last word with us creates a Hoover risk, provides us with fuel, looks to threaten our control, resulting in the need for us to assert control over you, either directly, thus hoovering you, or perhaps ignoring you, thus annoying you all the more because you want us to respond. What you have to do is reduce that emotional thinking and recognize that this desire to have the last word, however strong and tempting it is, serves no useful purpose for you, and is far more effective for you never to have it and say nothing more. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.